Well, hello, folks. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. As promised, I want to bring you our seasonal outlook, our winter outlook. It is Thursday, November the 4th, 2021. As I'm recording this, it's that time of the year again where we start thinking about the upcoming winter. And, you know, some years the forecast is pretty complex. This year, we've got a La Nina going on, and La Nina is a cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific regions from about South America and westward into the Pacific Ocean. Those cooler than normal waters tend to have a very large effect on the weather here in the United States. And if you ask how, well, basically, in short, the stronger the La Nina, the greater influence on how the jet stream sets up for the winter. And so we'll talk about La Nina here in just a minute. We'll talk about some of what the seasonal models are saying, and I'll give you my thoughts on everything here at the end as well. So just a really quick reminder, seasonal forecasts are incredibly difficult, and they are never 100% accurate. So this is going to be my best stab at it right now. It's near certain that this is going to fail in some parts. They always do. I've never had a perfect winter forecast, and I never will. And really just everybody that does these winter forecasts, you have to understand that, you just think about the typical outlook of being, 7 to 10 days and how difficult it is oftentimes to predict 7 to 10 days out something. If you're talking about predicting something 3 months out in advance, you've got to be pretty general in this. Specifics just aren't possible as far out. But I'll give you at least some general ideas, and that's about all that we can do with this. It's also near certain, I think, that some of you are going to love this forecast and some of you are going to hate it. Just don't shoot the messenger. And as always, I'll be covering everything wintry this year to the best of my ability. So when we start to see some things in the modeling that have some credibility, you'll know about it. So keep it tuned to Southern Indiana Weather on Facebook and on Twitter, and I'll give you updates as best I can. Let's dive into it, folks, here. First off, let's dive into the models and see what the models are saying. I don't put a whole lot of credibility into the models because seasonal climate models are just never really all that good. But I just want to show you that literally every one of them is predicting what we would expect as an above normal temperature forecast for the winter. And that's usually what we see with the La Nina, as I'll get to here in a second. But here's the Canadian. It's suggesting that. Here's the American model, the CFS, Climate Forecast System, suggesting that. This is the CA model. It's called the Constructed Analogs. This basically is a computer blend of analogs. Analog is a year in the past that have had similar ocean conditions and atmospheric conditions to what we have now, and it kind of compiles them all into one. And you see here we are in the United States over here. It's a world view here, but this is the eastern half of the United States here, and you notice it's warmer than normal as well. If we look at the multi-model probability forecast, you see it's warm for our side of the country as well, and you don't get the cool until you get further out towards the west there. The UK Met model, this is the UK's version of it. Again, it's a warm over here for the eastern portions of the United States too. So it's basically what you would expect with a La Nina. A La Nina, as I said, is a cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific. And so what you've got going on down here is a basin-wide La Nina. It's not an incredibly strong La Nina at this point, but there are signals that it may strengthen a little bit more. You got to get below negative 0.5 degrees Celsius anomaly for a 3-month period in order to be classified as a La Nina. We are there now. Here we are on November 4th as I'm recording this, and our latest value is negative 0.96 here on the Nino 3.4 index. That's about midway out into the ocean. The Nino 3.4 index is roughly out in here. This is the 1 plus 2, 4 is out in here, 3 is out in here. And so this is the 3.4 is kind of an average of these temps here. It's where we typically look at for a general average of what's going on in the basin. And we're definitely there with a La Nina. Now, where is it going to go from here? Well, models actually suggest that it's going to get even of a stronger La Nina. So we are right about in here now, roughly at a -1, and models trend this downward. In fact, as you notice it here, models cap it off here at about between a -1.5 and a -2. That would be a very strong La Nina if that's the case. There are some the dashed black line here is your average, your mean of the ensembles here. and each one of these other lines here is a forecast member of the ensembles. You average them all together, you get this black dashed line here. You see that as we go later on into the winter, it does weaken a little bit. So here you are, by the time February is probably about right in here, you're still at a fairly strong La Nina throughout most of the winter. You're at a moderate to strong La Nina event, if this forecast model is right. So where we're at a weak to moderate right now, it's forecast to strengthen throughout the winter. Generally, whenever you have a stronger La Nina event, you have a stronger influence on the atmosphere. Now, the problem is, whenever you say, well, what's an average La Nina winter look like? Well, if you average them all out, what you would find is that, generally speaking, we have above normal temperatures here, but it's not always that case. So this is looking at 24 La Nina events that we have had in the recent history to be able to illustrate these. And you're looking at temperature anomalies from that season. And you see a fair number of them were on the cool side here. But what you notice is, by looking at the dates, most of the cool ones were, 2 and 3 decades prior to us. Most of the ones that are more recent are above normal here. So, this is a fairly cool one, but that's 83, 84. That's a long time ago. This is a cold one as well, but that was 2000, 2001. Well, that's 21 years ago. So, you think about it, that's not as recent. It's kind of scary to think that 2000 was 21 years ago, but it is not as recent as it would be. But if you look at some more recent ones, you have a cool one here in 2010. But just look at this, 98, 99, extremely warm. 99, 2000, extremely warm. 2011, 2012, extremely warm. 2005, 2006, extremely warm. 08 and 09, you had some cold on the top of the country here, but we were kind of in the middle between these, and it was more warm than it was overall. I just want you to get the idea. Again, no two La Ninas are ever the same here, but the general idea is you end up with more above normal temperature winters than what you do below normal temperature winters. So by the time you factor in everything, here's kind of what I think is going to happen out of this. Overall, I think that we're looking for an above normal winter around here in southern Indiana when it's all averaged out. You're looking at December, January, and February temperatures. I think we're going to be about +1 to +3 degrees above normal. Now, that doesn't sound overly significant. You're thinking, 1 to 3 degrees above normal? Well, if the average is if we're supposed to be 40 degrees for a high temperature today, 43 degrees isn't really that warm. But we're talking averaged out over a 3 months period time. And so what we're saying here is, in order to get these kind of anomalies, you've got to be quite a bit warm. In order to get these 1 to 3 degree positive anomalies, you may have points and times where you are 10 and 15 degrees on individual days above normal. That is not to say that we can't have cold snaps. We usually do. But in a La Nina winter like this, usually we're going to be more limited. Last year, by the way, was also a La Nina winter. And if you remember right, we had a little bit of winter weather at the very beginning. But overall, much of December and January were on the reasonably normal side. On some milder days, we really didn't have much winter weather kick in until February. And it may be that we have that kind of a thing happen to us again, where overall we stay more on the normal to slightly above normal temperature scheme, and we end up with a few cool blasts, probably say 1 to 3 of those. But I think sustained cold air is going to be harder to find. I think your sustained cold air is going to be further up here to our north and west. I think you're going to see a lot of cold air bottled up in the northern Rockies, for example. But for us, I think you're going to see more seasonable to slightly above normal temperature regimes. What does that mean for snow? Well, for us, I'm thinking that we are in the near normal range of about 75% to 125% of normal. So I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster year. I don't think it's going to be one of those terrible lackluster years where we only get like an inch the entire season. We usually don't get those, but a couple of years ago we certainly had that. But I do think that the majority of the snowstorms are going to stay to our north and to our west. The jackpot, I think, will certainly be out here again over the northern Rockies where their cooler air is coming. I also think that the jet stream will probably keep much of the colder air bottled up to the north. And so while I do think that we get an active storm track through here, that active storm track will probably lead to an above normal rainfall kind of season for us, above normal precipitation for us, but probably not in the snowfalls. I think certainly as you get up towards the Great Lakes, as warm as the Great Lakes are, you're probably going to have a very active lake effect snow machine firing up this winter, and they could get some good snows out of this. But for us here in southern Indiana, down here into western Kentucky and portions of northern and central Kentucky, I just don't think that we're going to have as big of a winter here as what you would see to our north and west there. Again, though, with an above normal, with an active storm track, you'll probably get above normal precipitation. If you add it all together, that probably means we're going to have more rain than anything. So just a few highlights here, and then we'll end. Again, a mild winter, I think, overall is likely 1 to 3 degrees above average whenever everything is all averaged out December, January, and February. Again, that's not to say that we can't face some colder blasts. We probably will still face a few colder blasts. We may get 1 or 2 or 3 cooler waves that last a week or two. But overall, I think the theme is going to be more mild, and I think the sustained cold is probably going to be very hard to find here. I think you're going to find the sustained cold a lot further to our north and west than you will here. So a winter storm possible? Well, sure. A few winter storms are always possible in winter. But again, since much of that deeper, colder air is likely going to be locked up to the north of us, probably snow is going to be hard to come by much of the winter. It's just that's one of those years where it's going to be that way. But we will have that active storm track, so I look for kind of a milder and wetter winter overall, probably above normal rainfall to the region, and probably far more rain events than we will have snow events this year, at least here in southern Indiana. That's not to say that we can't get an Alberta Clipper to roll through and get a little bit of a light snow. That's not to say that we can't have a southern low move to our south and get a pretty decent-sized winter storm. Remember, back in February of this year when we had that pretty decent-sized winter storm, and some of you all along the Ohio River, yes, I know those of us along the Ohio River, many of us got gypped with mixing in with sleet and all that. But man, just to our north, most of southern Indiana got hammered with a big snowstorm in February. It was also a La Nina winter. So certainly we could have something like that again. And one big snowstorm like that could easily cause us to go above normal in snowfall. But how often do we get those big snowstorms? Climatologically, not that often. Usually 1 to 3 inch snows are far more common around here than what we see the 4 to 6 and the 6 inch plus. But, if you're a snow lover, I wouldn't just throw away hope and say that you're not going to get any snow this winter. I just think it's going to be harder to come by, and we will have fewer chances at it overall. But we always get some cold blasts. I don't think it's going to be wall-to-wall warm. But, if you like a more milder winter overall, then I think that's the theme is what we're going to have this winter. Overall, again, maybe some cooler spots, but probably nothing blockbuster. You remember back in like 2013, 14, whenever we were just ridiculously cold, it seemed like from the start of winter, and it never let up. That's not the kind of winter we're going to have this time. I don't think we're going to see anything even near that. I don't think it's going to be a toasty, overall warm all the time winter either. There will be some back and forth, but when it's all averaged out, probably more warm than there is cold. All right, folks, that's it. Again, I'm not going to get into a lot of the technical details here. Just wanted to give you the general overview of it this time. Just keep it tuned here to Southern Indiana Weather on Facebook, Will Height WX on Twitter. And as things start to roll in this winter, I'll keep you updated with more to come. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great day, folks. Stay safe. And we'll see you over on Facebook for more coverage as we go throughout the winter.